let's start off with your relationship between philosophy and your Christian faith. When I first got into philosophy, my mother was a bit concerned about the fact that me studying philosophy and theology at university may lead me away from the Christian faith. In the same way, have you experienced any situations where you as a Pentecostal Christian has come in conflict, or your Christianity has come in conflict with the philosophy that you're studying, and how those two relate to each other?
Yeah, so your audience might get this. A lot of audiences I talk to don't, but my mom is still alive and doing well. She now, for over 2 decades, has, quote, prayed for God's covering on my mind every single day because she's really worried about what it sounds like your mom is worried about, right? And I think this is appropriate. You know, our parents are concerned that we stay committed to what they tried to teach us was worth our commitment. And that makes tons of sense to me. In my own case, I think I'd approach it a little bit differently, which is I have no interest in staying committed to just what I've been taught. I have interest in increasingly living invested toward those commitments that continue to show up, as I say in the book, as worthy of my finitude. And so when I talk about my Christianity or my religious identity, it's not that philosophy, tempted me away from Christianity. It actually gave me the possibility of saying, hey, whatever you hold to be true and however you live and whatever actions you think are worth taking, are you doing them on purpose? Are you doing them in light of reflection? Or are you just kind of falling into it because that's what the crowd says is good, or that's what the they says is the right way forward? And it's important to understand when existentialists talk about things like the crowd mentality or the herd mentality, that applies every bit as much to the church, right? It's whatever community we find ourselves located within that then shuts down our ability to ask questions and interrogate what we then take for granted about how to live, what to believe, and what is the good. So I would say that it's not so much that philosophy challenged my Christian identity or Christian faith. It's that philosophy invited me to live on purpose in light of what I thought was worthy of the direction of my faith. And I understand faith and faithfulness, and this is the whole point of Camping with Kierkegaard, as risk with direction. And so if we are directing ourselves in life in a particular way, risk attends that way. And so I remain publicly identified as Christian. I still identify as a Pentecostal. Like, these are still part of how I make sense of my world and my life. But what that means, how it looks, which propositional, claims am I willing to assent to, all of that has shifted around because the way in which I relate to what it means to be a Christian on the other side of 25 years reading Bonhoeffer and Barth and Tillich and Heidegger and Simone de Beauvoir and Simone Weil and all, like, of course it's gonna shift, right? But I don't think it's gotten better, as if there was some, apex identity that we could somehow achieve and hold. I would say it's gotten more purposive. But at the same time, I would say that my Christian commitments are held not more tenuously, but I would say held a little bit more fallibly, held more humbly, hopefully. And I think that that's important because we can be humble and display true confidence. If we lack humility, our confidence will always be a idol of certainty masking real doubt, right? And so my thought is, you know what? I am on purpose Christian, not just, well, that's how I was raised. And my mom and I disagree about lots of aspects and ways that plays out. Like, if you just one example, I have moved much more in a universalist direction relative to soteriology, because the more I study, the more I read, the more I think, the more I live, the more I experience. Exclusivism not only seems wrong, but it seems immoral and dangerous and out of character with who Christ is. I know lots of Christians will say that's ridiculous, that's heresy. Okay, like that's part of what I think is now produced by thinking philosophically is not that it's going to move you in this more liberal direction, but it moves you into the space where you can tolerate some of that conversation about what is it that we claim to be true as we try to live truly in light of the example that we take Jesus to have offered, right? And that for me is where philosophy, I think, has made my Christian life more compelling as a lived practice. And certainly, I would admit, more perceived as dangerous to some power structures within the church. So pastors, not the one I currently have. I attend an amazing Assemblies of God church, and my pastor and I are great friends. But a lot of pastors that I've been in churches under see me as a threat, see me as problematic, see me as dangerous to the faith of their church, because I think we can ask questions and think deeply and come down differently on lots of stuff. And that is not what the crowd wants. That's not what they want. And that's definitely not what the authority structures of a fundamentally too often patriarchal, right, racially discriminatory way of making sense of Christian life. And this is especially in the US. And so, when you challenge some of that in the name of the love that you actually see God to model in the person of Christ, that doesn't go as well in some spaces. But I'm fine, entering those moments and saying, look, sometimes you have to stand against what Bonhoeffer called, this triumphant church or the established church. Kierkegaard says we have to sometimes resist that in the name of, what Bonhoeffer calls costly grace. And sometimes what it costs us is our ease and comfort walking with the people who just assume we agree with them. And I think that's actually good, though. I think the church needs more productive tension that animates the existential stakes of what faith is about.
This extract is taken from a longer interview with Dr. Aaron Simmons. In this interview, we talk about his journey from an avid fisherman to a leading philosopher in the fields of phenomenology and existentialism. If you'd like to check out that longer interview, then you can check it out in the link below. Furthermore, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe and share it with your friends. It really means a lot to me and really helps this channel grow. Stay safe, my friends. See you soon. Thank you for watching. God bless and goodbye. I'll see you next one.